guys, good morning everyone. It's May 18th, 2022, and I'm Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop FlossTube, and we're so excited that we have a guest, Kathy Haberman from Hands On Design this morning. So I'm going to let her kind of start off and talk about her company, how she started, just a little bit of background on who she is before we do the trunk show. And then at the end, she's going to answer any questions you have. So throughout, just throw your questions in and we'll hold them until the end. So Kathy, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here with you this morning.
Yeah, and so just tell me like how you started your company, a little bit about your company before we do the trunk show.
Sure, yeah. Even though I've only been hands-on design for about, let's see, gosh, we've been doing this for about 10 years now. I've actually been in the industry, so to speak, for, well, let's see, my youngest is 27. And I opened my shop on his third birthday. That's how I always know.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've been doing this for 24 years. And I didn't mean to open it on his third birthday, but it just sort of happened
Happen.
that way. But it's a good way to help me remember how long we've been doing this. So um, really the design aspect of it, I think, was always going to happen because even back when I had my shop, I was designing pieces that we taught as classes. I was also the finisher for the shop, so I did framing. Let's see what else. I did all the, I finished the shop models and I finished for customers, that kind of thing. So I always say there's kind of a trifecta of hands-on. We had hands-on needle shop, which was the retail store, and this was all pre we had a website, but pre social media, pre
Hmm.
all that back, as my kids would say, back in the dark ages.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I closed, because my kids were in middle school and life was super busy. Um, I decided that I would close the shop and just do finishing full time. I was finishing for several shops and I had customers pretty much all over the country. And so we morphed into hands on finishing. And then somewhere into that, I kind of decided that I really missed, because I was working a lot at home, and I really missed contact with people. I was being out, seeing what they were stitching. I love talking stitching. And so I started teaching, getting out a little bit more, and then I decided to start really working on design. So I had a previous design company, and we did that for about 5 years. The company was Cherrywood Design Studios. And when that ended, we had about a 5 year run. And when that ended, I just said, I'm not done. There's many things that I'd like to design and finish and do. So hands-on design was born. And that's pretty much kind of how I got here at this point. And people say, well, now that the kids are out of the house, will you open a shop up again or whatever? No, I like designing too much and finishing and teaching and just learning all sorts of new things.
Yeah, I think sometimes people don't understand like if you open a shop, it's going to take so much away from the design.
Mhm.
So if you do more than one thing, it kind of takes away from the other. So
Yeah,
if you
absolutely,
opened a shop,
absolutely.
then they would say, well, we want you to design more.
Exactly. And there are still only 24 hours in the day. So
Yes. So,
I used to say that to people all the time. If I could find that, if I could bottle time, I would certainly buy it.
yes. Or, yeah. I wish I could have a nap every day. That would be my goal in life.
That would be good.
So let's start the trunk show. And I think you're going to
Absolutely.
start with the three new designs that just arrived at Fat Quarter
Yes.
Shop.
Yes. 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 I'm really excited about these three. Okay, the first one is called, let's see if I get this right now. Am I on
Hmm.
the right site? Okay. This is called Life is Just. And okay, I'll
That
get it
looks
here.
good.
So this is Life is Just a big bowl of cherries. I just loved that big bowl and the dainty little chairs. It's a DMC, very simple stitch. I thought something bright and fun for summer, for the coming season. And I just finished it like just a fun little pillow. I love, if people see I use the baker's twine all the time. So these are all um, I guess my tell for finishing, and the gingham fabric, of course, and just kind of fun. DMC on this is a 32 count antique white Belfast. Uh, pretty much excuse me, pretty much everything I'm going to show you today is Ada friendly, and really pretty easy to change out the colors too. So that's something I like to see stitchers do.
And so since it's 36 count, if a lot of my customers like 14 count, so if they stitched it, it would be a lot bigger where they could frame it or make a bigger
It
pillow.
would be a little, actually, this would be it's 32 count,
Oh,
so
32.
really 16 count, and so it would probably be about, I'd say, half inch to about 3/4 of an
Bigger.
inch bigger if it was on 14 count. So it's still a fun little pillow and a very quick stitch.
That was so
So
cute.
that's Life is Just, and then I introduced. Let's see if I can pick these up. I have a lot of things over here. This is a new series. Turn it around. I'll take them out of the this way. This is called the Triple Play Pillows, and this is this summer basket. So you can kind of figure out what's coming. Is yes, there'll be a set for each season. I'll take them out of the. Um, I originally wanted them in a basket. We talked about it in our last FlossTube. I have a lot of baskets around the house, but I ended up using that tray just because it was just kind of fun. So these are obviously all patriotic-ish looking designs, but again, DMC on, it's 5 shades of DMC on a 32 count flax. Again, very Ada friendly. You'd be just about, again, maybe about 3/4 of an inch bigger if you did a 14 count. And if you're, say this, you don't, this is my take on red, white, and blue.
Mm-hmm.
A kind of more of an orangier red and a turquoisey blue, but it's 2 blues, 2 reds, and a white. So I'm very big on pick your own shades that match, you know,
Mm-hmm.
what I always tell people, it's not going in my house.
Yeah.
So stitch what, you know, make it, you know, fit your house. And we did a fabric bundle with these, and I have a tutorial on how I finish the pillows. It's a very easy quilted edge um, uh, finish, excuse me, and I did a little bit of, I don't know if you can see,
Mm-hmm.
like this one, it's easiest to see, big stitch quilting.
Mm-hmm.
I do like to quilt as well, and this is a technique I've kind of looked at, and I'm pretty much a fan of let's get it done. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I like to take my time with things, but I love also instant gratification on projects. So that's why I thought it'd be fun to try the big stitch quilting on these little pillows. And one of the fun things is I made them a pillow back. So the whole idea is that we can take the pillow form out when it's time to change the season, and then this will store flat. And you can tuck it in a drawer somewhere and then put it in the back of the next 3 pillows. And you just put it in a sweet little basket.
So can you show all 3 of them really close so we can see the detail?
Uh-huh.
Each one separately. Yeah, that looks
There's,
great.
there's I don't have individual names, but there's 1, there's
I
2.
love that one.
Yes.
It looks like
Yeah.
quilt blocks.
Mm-hmm. And there's 3.
So pretty.
Thank you. And you'll see there's, you know, there's similarities. There are 3 separate designs, but there's a lot of similarities to kind of really help them be a nice grouping.
So when do you think
All
the
together.
next part of that would be coming out? The next one?
Autumn is being stitched right now, and it will come out in the late August at the Needlework Expo.
Okay, perfect.
All right. All right. And then my final release for this grouping is called Home of the Brave. I'll show a little bit closer here.
And this one is so awesome. I saw it at Needlework Market, and you told me a little bit
Yes.
about the designer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yes, I actually licensed the artwork from Val McKeon. She is the owner and creator behind Lily and Val. She's a very popular artist. I kind of got familiar with her artwork back when I was doing research for the Chalk series, and we'll be showing those here in a little bit. And I loved her style, and I started following her blog. And I just kind of kept up with her and followed her journey, her artistic journey through just with her company, growing it, and how it's morphed over the years. She's also from Pittsburgh, so when I saw this, I saw this on Instagram. She did the post, and I kind of looked at it and I went, I have to stitch that. and I did. I'm kind of known for some of my emails like, hi, you don't know me, but I design cross stitch. And and thankfully her husband, and I might have played up the whole Pittsburgh angle, like, hey, we're a couple gals from Pittsburgh. But her husband did get back to me and said, "Oh, I will pass the message along to Val." And she was very gracious and said, "Yes, it sounds, really, it would be very interesting." And they were honored to have this one turned into cross stitch. So it's DMC. And it's on 32 count antique white. Again, very Ada friendly. There are no half or quarter stitches. That's a question I've been getting asked a lot. It's all complete cross stitches. And I did, okay, I'm going to own it. I did make a little goof. I announced yesterday, okay, this way. All right, here we go. The colors that are listed on the back of the chart, I'm just going to say it here. The colors listed on the back of the chart are the correct colors. In the color key, we have a correction printed on the website that 4 of the colors are not listed correctly. So,
yeah, but it's
little
on your
goof,
site.
but we've changed it. Yeah, it's on my site, so it's all good. But this was a fun one to do. And if you actually even just want the print, that is available on her site as well. She was really known back in like maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. She did a lot of the chalk art. And as I said, I kind of found her when I was doing the designs for my year in chalk. And now she really does, beautiful watercolors. They still live in Pittsburgh. And her Instagram feed is just lovely. She just takes some beautiful pictures. So. And she's very sweet.
We had a question on the last pillow that you did in the middle. They're asking if the second one is the same design that was in Simple Stitches box last year.
Yes. Yes.
So Jennifer, the answer is yes.
Yeah, that was a limited edition design. Actually, what happened is I designed 3 pieces, and I was working with them, and I said, okay, pick one, and I was secretly hoping that's the one they would pick. And they did. And I said, okay, I'll do this, but it's going to come out a year later. And it's different colors.
Right.
Because they did more of a traditional red, white, and blue in the box. So.
Awesome.
All right. So those are the 3 new releases, and those just landed at your warehouse late last week.
Yes.
So, and I know you guys have already been sending some out to customers.
Yes.
So. All right.
So can we move to Year of Celebrations?
Yes.
This is my favorite.
Okay. Oh, good. Yeah, and it's a lot of people's favorite. This is, I don't know that we'll ever have another series that will sell like this. Is definitely our best seller. So I don't know what it is. All the months come out in the same book, and they're just nice, sweet little designs. Now I'm showing it without the clipboard finish, and originally these were in a magazine. And so these are the design is probably, it's closing in on 10 years old. So that's what I think is really cool, that the design still resonates today. Sorry, I'm getting it.
Yeah, it's probably your best selling pattern still. Like it is still, it's even outselling the new one. So
good. Well, honestly, when the new one came out, I thought, okay, the call for the first one's going to just die down. I won't have to get any more printed. Nope, that is not the case. So that's exciting because it means it's a good design and it's standing the test of time. So this is January. Now, originally when they were in the magazine, they were all in 4-inch frames. That's what the magazine actually requested, is that I fit something that would fit into a frame that size. But when I released them myself, I came up with this little clipboard. I love clipboards. I don't know if you can see behind me. I've kind of got some this way clipboards. I use a lot of clipboards to keep myself organized. So I thought, well, how fun would this be? I'm big on switching it out each month. And I've got that little tab up there. So that kind of slides under the clip. And there's a complete finishing tutorial. At the time, I couldn't find a small clipboard that would work. So I just made this myself. And we have a tutorial on how I did it.
Awesome.
It's just a thin little piece of wood, and then you kind of clip the, you can see on the back, I kind of clip the
little tabs.
The little tabs up there. So, and you can paint it. I happen to stain mine. So I'll do a quick run through. We go January, we got the snowman, sorry. And then we go to February. And each one kind of has a little bit of story. This one I did the big heart just because when I was a little girl, my grandfather would get each one of us a big heart-shaped box of candy. And whether we were visiting, there was always one on our chair at breakfast, or he would mail them to us. So that was kind of mine. There's usually a story behind a lot of what I do. There's March, and then April. I just love that cloud.
And just so everybody knows, this is a year of celebrations, the first one.
Yes, the first one, yes. And then May, the May basket. That was not something I was very familiar with, was the tradition of the May basket, until we moved to Iowa and we received our first May basket. And I was like, what is that? And somebody explained it to me. And I get that look a lot. What's a May basket?
Yeah.
You get a basket delivered to your front porch, and it's usually full of like candy and, I don't know, around here, popcorn for some reason.
Okay.
There's June. You got to go to the beach. I'm a big beach gal. And then July, of course. Now, when I released them, I did do alternate finishes for Canada. That was kind of my number one request. So we did that. And all right, then August, got to go on a picnic with the sunflowers. And then September, oh, I have that in the clipboard. September, we're going back to school. And you have to remember, because I do get comments every once in a while, like they'll say, oh, I'm glad you didn't do school for the season 2. And you have to remember, 10 years ago, I had kids in school.
Yeah.
So that was kind of where my brain was at the time when I designed that. And then, of course, October. And I think everybody thought I was going to do a witch, but sometimes I just like to change it up and surprise everybody. And then November, and this is another one in the book now, is there's an alternate for Canada. And then finally December.
And so on this one, if I remember correctly, there's not a finishing that you can put it into one design. It's just 12 separate.
Right. When I initially did them for the magazine, it was kind of a different way to design them, since I didn't know that I would necessarily ever release them like this.
Okay.
I didn't do a large border, shall we say, but now actually the border for season 2, you can, if you just enlarge it by one space, these will fit, because these are each 50 by 50. The season 2 are 49 by 49. I've learned a few things over the years designing, that it's easier to design in uneven numbers or odd numbers. So it just kind of fits the space a little bit better. So that's the original year of celebrations. And when I was kind of just trying to figure out a year ago, what I wanted to do for hold on, I'm looking for the starter. Oh, here it is. Okay. When I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, kind of like I like to do at least one big ta-da at market, that's when I decided that I would like a chance to redo these. Again, it's a very popular series, and you probably think, well, don't mess with that. But I thought, but I've learned a lot over the practically 10 years, and I feel like even though my designs are still quintessentially me, I like to think that I've grown a little bit in how I do things. And so I thought, well, what if I did it again, but how I design now, obviously, and then what were we going to call it? And I said, well, this is like the second season. And actually the working title for the longest time was second season. Okay. And then one time I think I called it season 2, and that sort of stuck. And I've learned also to just go with what sticks in my head. So this is January from season 2.
And we're going to be having a sew along with this also. And so I'm going to be telling all of our customers a little bit more about it in the coming weeks.
Yes. And so you're going to do your colorways, I understand.
Yep. And we're going to sell like a thread pack and talk about the fabric that we're using. And we're using a similar color to yours. Mm-hmm. So very excited.
And again, yeah, that'll be, I can't wait to kind of see. I love seeing when stitchers, change up colors or do a different finish, and they tag me in a post or something like that. I just love seeing that, because sometimes I've had those moments where I go, why didn't I think of that? Those are the best.
Well, I kept coming back to your room at market and just like staring at the piece. I was just like staring at it. I'm like, and then I was just like trying to figure out, okay, what am I gonna do? I kept coming back and looking at it.
Yes, I remember that, because a couple times I'm like, She's thinking. I'm not going to bother her right now. But there's February. And somebody, it's interesting because we do actually have a Facebook group going as well. That actually started for the original year celebrations. And then a lot of people have, some are, it's about half and half. Some are working on the new
Okay.
season 2, and then some are working on the old as well. And so it's really fun to see the different finishes there. And somebody showed one of their finishes. I think it was the May. Okay, that was, okay, here's March. I'll run through them quickly. And there is a border on the website for these if you want to stitch them all together. Now, something I did, and again, like I said, I learned as I went, I did it so that if you lined them up, the little tags here will actually all line up. So you'll have all right, center, left if you do them 3 across by 4 down. And I jokingly said, if you do it any other way, well, you're just wrong. So, so like I said, there was definitely some things that I kind of learned there that, let's see, where did I leave off? This is one of my favorite months, August. I love the beach. Those little seagulls are really cute. And in November, we also have a thing for turkeys. July. So I did not do any months where, like I did for, say, different countries. I purposely tried to keep those particular months not so centrally themed on, say, 4th of July or something like that. Right. So here we've got corn, knee-high by the 4th of July, which is another one of my patterns. And here's June. Tried to really think about, like strawberries. I always go strawberry picking in June. And that little blackbird kind of steals the berries. And here's another one of my favorites because I love October. I love white pumpkins. And there's a lot of detail in each one of these. That's what I was saying earlier. Somebody mentioned in the group for a small design. And I think maybe that's why people like them, because these really are about 3 inches. They're great car projects. They're great doctor's office projects. With this one, there is a more cohesive color palette, which I'm assuming you're doing as well with your color changes. And so I think it's easy to have your floss all together. And with the original series, I didn't do that, mostly because they were going in a magazine. And I wasn't thinking in terms of a color palette at the time. So, and this is the December one. And I just kind of thought about just a pretty little, freshly snow-covered houses. Kind of was channeling a little, maybe northeastern village somewhere. So, and that's pretty much all of season 2. I did do a finishing tutorial, a classroom on how I finished mine. Do you have any idea how you're going to be finishing yours?
I'm going to do it in one big piece, and I'm going to use Tropical Paradise as the border, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch the border to show people how it looks, and then I'm going to frame it.
Nice. That'll be good. Yeah. I think you'll probably find a lot more people doing this as one, since I did do a border. But again, I mean, that was sort of the whole point behind redoing the series, was kind of taking some of the things that I've learned, like doing a border and making it an odd number and having a cohesive color palette, and letting that help. So,
and the dates, everything you saw that she showed is stitch. There's no tags or anything. So somebody asked if those dates were tags, and they're all stitches.
No. And I've had a few people mention as well, well, what if they wanted to do this just as a pretty Christmas ornament? Because I think that would be a beautiful ornament. And you could just leave the December off, and each one has a little border across the top. You could just extend the border. So that's what I think I like about these two, is they're very versatile. You don't even have to stitch them all, just maybe stitch your birth month or something like that. So.
And when I was looking at it, there's some back stitches, but very little. Right. So, and there's there's no like specialty. There's just a little back stitch under the date.
Right. And then a few Smyrna crosses. Everybody knows I love my Smyrna. I feel like I can't design anything without a Smyrna cross. But if you don't want to do a Smyrna cross, make it 4 cross stitches. But really, a Smyrna cross is nothing but a really big cross stitch.
They're really easy.
It's a fun, a very fun specialty stitch. So, So that's season 2. Where would you like to go from here?
Let's do the block party 4th.
Okay.
And just for all my customers, I'm going to be showing a year of celebrations in a couple of weeks, so just stay tuned. We are placing an order for the thread, and then we will start the sew along when like the thread is all available.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I have to apologize. My goof, he's going to go pull the model.
Okay.
I don't have that one pulled. So what else should we do?
Lori is saying thank you so much for providing the Canadian patterns. They love that.
Good.
And then
Yes.
Ilse is saying, can it be done for the Southern Hemisphere? We have the same celebration, but it's different. Can the motifs be mixed or changed? Ilse.
For season 2 or for
I think you could mix. I think she's saying, could you mix the season 1 and the season 2? And I think you can. It's just one stitch different. You just have to kind of maybe take a little sliver off,
scoot something over a little bit or something. Yeah. And the other thing too, I was actually thinking about that because if you wanted to change the month there and make that, have the kind of this reverse season, that kind of thing. I think you could totally do that. So, and that kind of made these, the long one. Check on the table. Sorry.
I got you.
Somehow I missed that model. Mr. HOD walking back and forth. So there's your glimpse of them.
Yeah.
But yes, no, totally. You could change up. These are very versatile in that way.
And then Sandy is asking, she says she loves how you finish the St. Patrick's Day block party on a stretcher frame. Would you have a tutorial for that on your YouTube channel?
I do, actually.
Okay.
Yes, it's a fairly recent one. And if you go to my FlossTube channel, on the front page, the tutorials are highlighted, as well as the newer videos. And then on the website, thank you. And then on the website, I think we have a page where all the tutorials are listed, so she can reference that too.
Yeah, and it's really easy to follow.
Yeah. So I do have, I don't know if you meant the block or if you meant the long one.
Well, both, yeah.
He was able to
Okay. That one's awesome. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that those, if you show the pattern cover, how different it looks between the small and the big.
Yes.
And I actually didn't realize that until I went to Shepherd's Bush and they had one of yours stitched. And I was like, I don't have that pattern. And then I was like, okay, you're an idiot. Because it was the pattern, but I didn't connect the two.
Right.
So
when I first started designing these, the very first one was home, and I did it as the block. And I think I did the first 6 or 7, just the block. And it wasn't even really supposed to be a series, but I was visiting the gals at Just Another Button Company, and I said, here's a pin cushion I designed. It needs pins. And they were like, oh my gosh, we love that. That needs to be a series. And I was like, really? And then, so they all kind of, that's really how it started. And then, so we did home, Java, wool, snow, oh boy, now I'm going to mend. I'm going to get called out here. Do I remember the name of all of them?
Yeah.
There were initially 7, and then I took a couple years off, and I literally got emails from people saying, okay, we're caught up. You can do more now. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I did meow and woof, and then I knew I wanted to do seasons, not just 4-letter words, because they do the pin sets that coordinate in a 4-letter word and then what we call a character pin. And so I thought, I love designing for Halloween, and so how could I do Halloween? And I racked my brain for a good 4-letter Halloween word, and I just couldn't find one. And so I thought, well, wait a minute, what about 31st? 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4, So I emailed the gals at Just Another Button Company. I said, hey, what do you think? And so that's when the whole idea to do just the side panel and have the secondary finish came about. So we've done 4 dates. We've done 31st, 24th, 17th, and now 4th, and I am quickly running out of dates. I call them holidays, but I've got a couple more up my sleeve. So as I do series, I do tend to really like to switch them up. Kind of grow the series, even just looking at your celebrations to season 2. But what was nice about this one, when I design them now, I design them a little differently than I did the original. I designed them with the intent that they would also look good as a long panel like this. Because I have seen, even if somebody doesn't, it's really a quick stitch, but even if you just wanted to end here and just do the F is for flag, that's just a beautiful little piece right there and not very big. So that's kind of what I like to do, is have lots of options in my designs. So. And that's another recent one. So that's 4. Sorry, I didn't have that pulled for you.
And then red, she said, we had that as next.
Okay. All right.
But you could go any order you want. You could show a different one that you have there.
Sure. Okay. Yep. Okay. So let's see. How about, do we want to talk about the kitchen series?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna hold on one second.
Okay.
Grab that. So I said, we were talking earlier, I like to design a lot of things that actually go in my house, because, well, why not? And so I did a few years ago when we built our house, I knew I wanted a fun laundry room, because if you're going to have to do laundry, it might as well be fun. And so that's when I did the laundry company. I can show those in a moment. And after that, I knew I wanted to go to a kitchen, because I like to cook, because I cook because we have to cook. Bill likes to cook. So the one chart that said I have a kitchen because it came with the house, that actually was the inspiration for the whole series. But I love these other sayings as well. And so this is, take whisks. Don't be afraid to take whisks.
So cute.
And then another in the series is the life is short, lick the bowl. And I just kind of was going for a kind of a retro feel, with not just the sayings, but the design and the colors. It's a DMC, and I did mine on 32 count antique white. 32 count is pretty much kind of my go-to. So it's very Ada friendly. 14 count would work as well. And I knew I wanted a fun finish. These actually came out during the pandemic, when it was kind of hard to get some frames, and I knew I really wanted a bright red frame. It's coming off kind of orange in my lights, but so I actually had these ordered raw.
Okay.
Natural. And then I did talk about this in a blog post on my website, where I thought, well, if I want a really bright red frame, I'm going to have to make it. And I didn't want just a flat red. I wanted something fun. So I don't know if you can kind of see the dots. So I like another kind of favorite thing of mine is very tonal pattern. So I actually showed in the blog post how I made a stencil for the frame, and then cut these out, and then I sprayed over with a like a shiny like an acrylic spray, and that's how I got the dot look, and super easy to do. And also tells you what else I like to do. I like to get a little crafty. So and then with each one of these, we were talking about this earlier, thank you, I gave away a portion of a bonus chart. It kind of went like, you got that one, and then we went down and down, and then this is the kitchen conversion. And I am here to tell you, this has actually come in handy a couple times in the kitchen. So by purchasing the 3 charts, you got this chart
as the bonus. Complete,
and yeah, as the bonus. And I think any one of these would make just a great, housewarming gift, for a wedding gift, anybody setting up a new home, that kind of thing, or just, I don't know. I just like having. I tend to decorate with a lot of red accents in my home, so those were really fun.
And the frame is definitely red in person, because I got to see them at Needlework Market.
Yeah.
And the best thing about Kathy is, like, on her blog and her, make sure you follow her on her blog and her YouTube channel, because she gives you so many details on how to actually finish, and it's very thorough, like every step. So, like, I feel like when I watch her stuff that I could actually do it myself, and I'm not good at it at all.
Yeah. I think you're pretty good at it.
I do a lot of
But no,
rewind. A lot of rewind.
that's okay. That's okay. Well, hey, that's why the videos actually really help. I kind of tend to do tutorials, both as just static tutorials as well as the videos. And I really enjoy doing the video classroom, which we did when we did season 2, because a couple times when I've done them, there's been some oopsies that some of the gals have done, and I've had people comment and they say, "I'm so glad you didn't edit the oopsie out." And I always have to laugh because I'm like, well, first of all, you're assuming that I can edit, so the oopsie stay. So it's a lot of fun though. And okay, so we were talking about red, she said, and I just said that I really like to decorate with touches of red in my house. So the Banner Year series, we'll kind of let it go this way. All right, we start off, it's got the alphabet at the top. And these are just, this one is kind of meant to be like an everyday banner, one that you can keep up all the time. I actually have some shelves over my stove where I like to decorate, and then I have a cute little spot for hanging a banner down. And I got the idea when I was decorating for Christmas. I found in a store like a metal banner. It was silver and it had like the letters J-O-Y, joy on it, and I put that up and I thought, wouldn't that be fun if I had something like I could decorate every season and cross stitch? So this is the 4th now, and I said eventually I would like to have enough that I could have a banner up all the time. And so I've done one now for Ghosties and Gourds, was for Halloween, and then Language of Liberty for 4th of July, and Snow Much Fun was for winter. So sometimes they're for a specific holiday and sometimes they're for a season, and then I said I wanted one for every day, and this is the everyday. So we've got the alphabet at the top, and just a lot of I kind of did like an influence of like Baltimore album quilts, and just fun. I think it would fit into a lot of different decors. And we have several different finishing tutorials. I know some people are scared off by this finish. I've got a static tutorial that you get a link in the chart, a complete tutorial. So when you purchase the chart, you'll have that link and you can print it out and follow it. I've also done a classroom tutorial on how we finish the base, the back part of it, and to walk you through the steps. And I just haven't had time to get it done yet, but I am going to do a tutorial on how I lace, because everything else uses the double-sided tape, but the needlework portion is laced. And I do have plans to do a tutorial on just how I lace that piece, because it's a little different than just say a rectangle or a circle.
A lot of people ask about lacing.
Yeah, and we did lacing, we covered lacing in the season 2 classroom tutorial, and I've had some people comment and say, I tried lacing and it's not that bad. I'm like, no, it's really not. Yeah. So I do have one more banner year planned for this year. So just, I'll just put it out there, just kind of think Christmas, just saying. Yeah. So that's red, she said. And then, why don't you do the laundry?
And the laundry basket series is called The Laundry Company. Someone's asking the name of the series. Yes.
Yeah. And these have been out a few years now, but again, I just love that they're kind of timeless designs. There were 3. I did not bring, this also had a bonus chart. I can't remember which came out first. Okay. I think this one did. The laundry, the never-ending cycle, because isn't that so true? And now savvy stitchers will notice, those look a little different than the cover. I am a big proponent of sometimes repurposing your finishing or redoing your finishing, because at one point I actually finally, the colors it's a very, believe me when I say the fabric in the background does go. It doesn't look good in these lights. But when I actually finally hung them in my laundry room, I wanted to change up the finish a little bit to go with some fabrics that I had there. So you'll see I use that kind of clipboard looking finish a lot. I told you I had a thing for clipboards. So.
And I think this one would be really pretty if you stitched it on black and just used white floss for the entire thing. It would look so
absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. I do agree with you there. So Never-Ending Cycle was the first one. And then, thanks, you went and got it. Okay, then Self-Service. Loads of fun. And that's kind of where I worked in the name of the series, the laundry company at the bottom. And then irony. This one still makes me giggle. I just love this saying, irony. The opposite of wrinkly.
So cute.
I told people I have a really expensive iron. It's never seen clothes.
Yeah, no, never. Never.
And then this was the bonus part, the chart that came wash, dry, fold. So you got wash in the first one. Oops, sorry. Wash in the first one, and then dry, and then fold. So I played a little game. Did they know what it was going to say? But very simple. But I think I also really like framing things, kind of giving it that nice big wide border and making it really more like a piece of art. So these actually do hang in my laundry room. So
and that one would look really good over like the doorway to your laundry room, like either going in or going out. So maybe I'll have to stitch that. I might have to stitch that.
There you go. I noticed. Do you want to give me not Pumpkin Spice Farm and then the those two? Yeah, it's because I noticed that she's got the one behind her. Okay. So this one was Autumn Skies. I noticed that you have one behind you there. This was my version of it. The Autumn Skies, this way to the pumpkin patch.
Yeah, so I stitched this right when it came out. And on this one, I stitched mine on white chocolate 14 count Aida. And I used the DMC colors listed. And then you stitched yours. Which fabric did you stitch yours on?
This would have been a 32 count. It looks like it's either like a platinum or a flax. Sometimes I go in phases, and I like to use those too.
Yeah, and then this one I just had framed. So cute.
It's pretty that way. This was actually, I did not finish I think 2 designs ever have I had finished by someone else that actually made the covers. Other than that, everything you see on the covers, I did all the finishing. And I'm not even going to mention who did the finishing because she's not doing it anymore. So.
And those buttons at the top, those are from Just Another Button Company. I recognize them.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Because I originally did this as just a sweet little kit when I was going to teach at a class. And I loved that. I love a tealy blue, a good tealy blue in fall. And so I included the button there, and I thought, well, I need to make more buttons when I kind of paired these two up together to go in the same chart.
Yeah, and I
like it framed too.
Let's see, I stitched mine on same thing. White chocolate.
Yeah, same here.
But then here, what I did is I stitched just one big fat, like I used like Aurifloss, and I just did a big fat stitch to hold it down. And didn't the ribbon came in the kit, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then I didn't have the aqua button you had at home when I finished that day, so I just threw in a button I had at home. Yeah.
And it looks great. Yeah.
And I stitched this. Yeah, this one came out in 2019.
Yeah. Gosh, that sounds like so long ago.
I know.
I love extra embellishment on my finishes. That's kind of, I don't know, that's one of my things for sure I like to do. So in this one, yes, we call those, because you get the wool felt already cut, so we call those, it looks like when we cut a bunch of them and you got a pile sitting on the work desk, it looks like a big pile of crinkle cut sweet potato fries.
Oh, that's funny.
So, and then as this came out even a few years before that, but this is the Pumpkin Spice Farm. And I know you had that one done too.
Yeah, I stitched this one on lamb's wool. And I think I changed my floss to like a Aurifloss. And I think the only reason I changed it is I had already done something with Aurifloss and I had leftovers.
Sure. Yeah. That's a great way to do it, especially when you have the...
Yeah, mine's 14 count. I think yours is 16 count.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it is. This looks like a Weeks Dye Works linen. I'm thinking it's maybe like tin roof or maybe gray, something like that. So... and it was funny because when I designed this, and I've actually this is another one I'm sort of considering kind of doing a little makeover on. I posted about that. I'm going to show you the back. This is what happens because a lot of times these models travel on trunk shows, so they get a little tired. And somewhere along the line, we lost one of the buttons. And So, and I just kind of think, they get shoved in boxes, even though they're packed really well. And I just thought, maybe I just need to give it a little freshen, a little zhuzhing up, so to speak. So that's on the docket somewhere, but it's still a sweet little finish. This, of course, is the Lady Dot hand-dyed velveteen, and then her chenille trim as well. So I love the nice thick chenille. And then those were actually just another Button Company buttons. I don't know where the third one went to. So it's around somewhere. But yeah, so that's the pumpkin. And then I guess another fall one, why don't we move into that one, and then the framed piece. Since we're talking fall, Bill's going to grab the framed piece for me. This is in the Chalk Talk series. Those were the 4 seasons. And like I said, I really do enjoy stitching for fall. And oh, that's right, you did this one too.
Yeah, I did this one, and then I did another one, and it is officially lost. So I'll find it at some point. I think I packed it in my I think it's in my storage unit. But my goal, there's 6 total, and my goal is to do all of them, and I have 2 done so far.
Nice. Okay, good. Yeah, now what color did you do yours on?
This is chalkboard black, 14 count. And then I don't think I changed the colors on the floss. I just left everything the same. And
this is the DMC.
You used a black fabric, right?
This is called Slate. Okay. That's the Fabrics by Stephanie. So it's definitely a blue-gray.
Yeah, so sometimes people ask, what's the difference between black and chalkboard black? And so, and I just had this one framed. It's actually the same frame that, I think it's the similar frame to my others. Right. But I did do 14 count on all of mine.
Okay, and this is an 8x10 frame. And I just love this frame. You're going to see this one a lot, just because it's a good, when you don't realize how many different colors of white there are. There's blue whites and gray whites, and then this is definitely a good chalky white. And I just love the matte finish. I like the depth of the frame and the width and that little ridge along there. It kind of matches a lot of what I do in my home. And so I tend to, every time they're half off at the Hobby Lobby store, I tend to go buy a bunch because I know I'm going to use them.
And all of everything that I'm showing, I have glass on mine, and they're asking, do you put glass on your framed finishes? I do, just because I have sticky fingers at home with kids, and they just like to touch everything, so...
When I have pieces, especially if it's something that I know is eventually going to hang in my home permanently, I do go back and I put glass on things because that's my custom framing background coming out. I really like the glass on it to help preserve it. But when it travels, and of course when we photograph things for the covers, there's just no way I can have glass on it. And then of course the glass is very heavy to ship. So they do run the risk of having some damage, like you can see with the one pillow, and sometimes the frame gets dented or nicked, and unfortunately that's kind of part of it. But no, I do like to have the glass, mostly because, well, where I live it can be very dusty. We're surrounded by fields. I have animals in the home, and at one point I had little kids here, although they pretty much knew to leave. The joke was mommy's business is called hands on, but this is hands off.
That's funny.
But they were always really good about, they grew up around it. So, but yes, no, I do like to put glass on the things that hang in my home. So this was, let's talk autumn. And of course, then again, as I was saying, in my patterns, I like to do a lot, just give you lots of options. So this was the fall, or this is the same pattern, but it's a smaller. So if you felt like that big one was overwhelming, and really it's an 8x10, so not that big. This is more about a 5x5 size. And then sometimes I get going with an idea and I just can't seem to stop. And I did the little the hello hoop as well. And there's a tutorial on how we finish that. And so just kind of fun. And I did a little bit of perforated paper took the leaves from the large sampler as a motif, and then wrapped the hoop. So
yeah, and I remember watching the tutorial on that when that came out.
if you want to hand me, we can go through the other seasons real quickly here. There's summer, which I see a lot of people stitching out there now. This is the summer. Sweet summertime. I have a lot of fun. I try to do words that not only have meaning to me, but are maybe a little different. And you'll see, like I have favorite fonts, and so I'll use some fonts from design to design, but then I'll introduce something new, like the barbecue. I don't think I use that font style in anything. And I get a lot of people that ask, I love your alphabets. Where do you get them? Can you just do like the whole alphabet?
Yeah.
I actually design these each time. I wish I was smart enough or remembered enough to do an entire alphabet and save it as like a working file, and I could just reference it. But I design an alphabet for every. I can sit down and pretty much design an alphabet like as I go. I'll look at something and I'll go, I kind of want it to look like that, and I just kind of make it up. And then of course we did the pillow.
I love the pillows.
For that. Yeah, I just I kind of liked that sorry, I keep the wrong side. Kind of just more of a
patchwork,
a crunchy quilty finish. But yeah, patchwork. And I didn't worry about. I did do a tutorial on that, but I didn't worry about like do my corners match up because I kind of did some crosshatch quilting, and then I threw it in the washing machine and I let it get all crinkly.
Okay.
And I figured if it doesn't match perfectly by the time it's crinkled, you're not going to see it.
Right. So you did that before you washed the little quilt part before you attached the cross stitch, right?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And then of course we have a little
hoop.
Yeah. And the watermelon was kind of an homage to my sister because she loves watermelons. And when she watches this, she's probably going to kill me because watermelon's sort of a family joke.
One of my sons loves watermelon, and one time I was like, okay, you have to stop eating or you're gonna be sick. Like he just wouldn't stop eating it, and I was like, no, you have to stop. Like I had to stop him.
Yeah. So this is winter.
Yeah, and I made that one. That's the one that I can't find.
Oh no!
No, but I'll find it. I'll find it.
I think I remember when you posted something about when you were stitching the quilts. And again, like I said, I like to include things in these. We a lot of times will have pages in like in my sketchbook where we start because I'll bounce things off. Ideas off Bill, and I'll say, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And then I kind of know like how many words I want to fit in, like what fits nicely into the design. And so a lot of times I have an entire sketchbook page of words, and then we start like crossing things out. No, not that one. No, not that one. Or we try and find words that haven't really like been used before in designs like this. So like when cozy quilts, I'm like, oh no, we got to include that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully that doesn't fall. And then of course we've got the pillow that went with that.
Yeah, and it's funny, I recognize all the quilt fabric you've used.
Yeah. I bet you do. And then there's the Hello Winter.
Those are so cute.
And then what do we have left? Oh, and then spring. I've seen a lot of people stitching spring right now. And we also do have a Facebook group for this too, a stitch along group.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yes, which is a lot of fun. People, because I get a lot of questions about, what other color can this be stitched on? And a while ago, I went into the group and I said, do you mind if I, screenshot your pictures and then make a little film with the different colors? And I posted that, and I mean I have seen just some of the most amazing combinations, and so even just kind of scrolling through the pictures in the group, I just said look in the group and see, and there's just beautiful. Somebody did this on I think the summer one with the watermelon. She did it on a most beautiful pale blue. It was gorgeous.
Yeah, so we are getting some questions on would this look good on different colors, but definitely I didn't know you had those Facebook groups, so definitely refer to those because I'm going to go check that out. And they're asking if you have a tutorial for the pillows as well.
Yes. There is a link. Now on some of them, most everything, it's a link or it's a tutorial that you can either find on my FlossTube channel or on my website. A few of these where it's a lengthier tutorial, there is a link inside the chart that they can follow. So it's kind of more of a private page, but eventually we'll kind of put those all out there. But while we were doing the series, we just kept it when you bought the when it's in the chart.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then of course here's our little birds. And we did the birds because where we live, we get a ton of barn swallows, and we just it's funny because we kind of moved a little bit outside city limits a little while ago, and we get a lot more wildlife. And so we keep binoculars by the he likes to bird watch. And the barn swallows are really fun. Of course, these are not barn swallows, but we just like watching all the different birds. And we always just get the robins are nesting all around our house right now. So that's a lot of fun. You want to grab the quilting one and the stitching one? And you said you've stitched some of either the quilting or the stitching?
I haven't stitched them yet, but they're on my list. They're on my list to do. I don't know why I haven't done them.
So the first one I did actually was Let's Talk Stitching, and it was so funny because the first emails I were getting, are you going to do one for quilting?
Yeah.
And I already had that designed and it was going, so I hated to go, yes. I do a lot of sneak peeks out there on Instagram, and somebody called me Queen of the Sneak Peeks, and I'm like, yeah, I'll wear that crown.
Yeah.
But so this is the Let's Talk Quilting. So this came out second, and as I said, this one I like to do. I like, a lot of these things to have meaning to me. So I am a quilter, and so a lot of these words, like I really wanted to put a sewing machine in there, and it just wasn't working. But I knew I definitely wanted a rotary cutter in there. And the joke is a lot of times when I do my tutorials and I'm actually cutting, I get so many comments that people say, close your rotary cutter.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so afraid you're gonna, and it's so funny because it's hard to tell, it's a little blurry, but if you notice, the bottom rotary cutter is closed. The top one is open. But you won't cut yourself. So sometimes, like I said, I just kind of like to infuse a little joke in there. But and Ohio Star is probably one of my favorite. You see that a lot in my different designs and just different variations. Oh, we're getting really blurry here. I just had to include that because that's one of my favorite quilt blocks. And then, of course, with that, that design size is the same as the larger in the seasons. And like I said, I always like to change things up and keep it interesting. So I did the small, the 5-inch square, but this is when I wanted a bag. And I do have another pattern. I think we'll talk about it. It's a bag finish. But I wanted a bag that stood up, just something a little different. There's tons of bags out there that go horizontally, but I wanted one that went a little more vertically. And so when I go to a retreat or something like that, I typically don't take a lot of projects because usually I'm always kind of deadline stitching on the next release or a class piece or something. I wanted it to be big enough that I could really put what I was going to work on in there and just have the one bag and then have my light and I'm good to go. I'm all about like traveling light. So this has the nice gusset on the bottom and you really can fit a lot in there. And the pattern, it was written by the gals at Simple Stitches Fabric Shop, and she did different variations on the panels here. There's one that has X's for cross stitches. I did the striped version. There's an even more, I don't want to call it plain, but maybe a simple version for somebody who's concerned about piecing, where that's just a solid bit of fabric. And this is versatile too for any of your 5-inch square finishes and any small design like that. So,
and tell me the name of the pattern. I know we have it, so I need to make sure we have enough in stock. Do you remember the name of it?
Yeah, it's called the Stitch and Stow bag.
Okay.
Because you stitch it and then you stow. And then, so this is the small that went with it. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do an ornament, but what would you do that would be useful as a stitcher or a quilter? But it's a pincushion. And again, I do have a FlossTube tutorial. It's a classroom tutorial where I did it with one of the gals that works here and then my little neighbor gal that works for me in the summer. And she had never done, it was so funny, we did a dry run before we actually did the filming. And I said, so, and I'm embarrassed because she's worked for me for 3 summers and I've never taught her to stitch. I feel like I've failed. And I said, okay, so thread your needle. And she just kind of looked at me like, I'm like, okay, let's start here. But it was so funny because by the time we did it a couple times and then we filmed, And by the time we filmed, I mean, I was like, okay, so let's thread our needle. And she did it right away. And I mean, she just picked it all up so quickly. So I was like, you know, the inexperience of youth, they don't care. They just pick it up so quickly.
Yeah.
And then we just did a fabric version, but this is an embroidery hoop that I painted. And I have a blog post, kind of how I do. I thin out some paint and make it pretty colors. And then even I make the back fun too.
It's cute.
And I did that with stitching as well. And this one was fun. I knew, I knew when the seasons were done that I was going to definitely do stitching and then quilting. And it's funny because I kind of carried the design around in my head a little bit before it got out on paper. And I knew this hoop was always going to be the hoop. And I actually started with just the word hoop, and then I had it all filled in with a color, like it would be the color you were stitching on. And I thought, kind of looked plain. I don't know. And that's when I started adding the little flowers, because I thought, well, it's like you stitch the flowers. So, and then just all the fun, like, I thought, I know you can do just like DMC floss, but I thought, why don't we do our flosses, our hand-dyed flosses, and have your floss toss and do fun things like that.
It's so cute.
And then, of course, same thing with the bag. I just love the colors in this one. Now, for all of these, I did, actually all the Chalk Talk series, I did DMC. And then I know some people have really loved starting to work with the sulky, the 12 weight. And so I didn't do a conversion for that, but some people have asked for it in the group. So a couple times when these come out, I give them suggestions. I'll say, oh, can we get a sulky conversion? And I didn't do a sulky pack for these, but it's easy to do the conversion. So I just love the bright colors. And then of course, here's the pin cushion. It's a fun finish. Oop, I didn't pull my pins out.
And someone is asking what orts means.
Oh, well, okay. So there is a, I think there is it is an acronym for something, but orts are those little threads that you have, like when you're done stitching, and that you cut off. And a lot of us, I have like a little ort
like a jar
basket that I keep, and that I keep handy, that I just kind of throw in it. And there are times I've even like if I'm running close on a thread, like I've dug into my ort jar and go, oh, that's long enough, I can use that.
I do that all the time, and I empty it after each project so that I don't put the wrong one on there. But I'm thinking I might do like a little jar and
I have seen where people they'll save all their orts from an entire year, and then at Christmas time they'll fill one of those the ball ornaments with all their orts, and then they'll write the name on it, and they'll say that this is all their projects for the year. I think that's kind of a cool idea. But yeah, so yeah, orts are just those little why don't you get the other bag? And then how about the other stitching one too? The box. Yeah. Okay, so here's this one. I know you've done this one too. There you go. And that's a great example of what this would look like on a different fabric.
And I changed the bag. Mine's just a tiny bit different because yours, in your instructions, she gives you instructions on how to reverse it, like put it right sides together, but I was too scared. So I just did mine easier where I just put binding on it. So not only did I change the colors, I changed the bag a little bit.
Yeah. And then I noticed, okay, you've got your, like I did, love my stitching. You've got your name on it, which is great. Because, I mean, imagine like if you took that to a retreat and everybody had the same bag, how would you know who's?
And to do that, I just used, with the pattern, I just wrote on top of your pattern and then erased it and then just kept redrawing it until it looked okay.
Yeah, and there were probably enough letters in all the words that you were able to kind of make it match. So no, it looks really good. Yeah,
like I take the K and the I. It was more the spacing that I had to figure out.
Yeah, Yeah, this was a collaboration I did with Karen at So Much to Love. She wrote the bag instructions. She does a wonderful Bag of the Month club. She was actually, I love doing, for anybody that kind of follows me, they know I like doing a lot of different collaborations. And Karen was probably one of my first collaborations. She was the first recipient of the "You Don't Know Me" email.
Oh yeah.
And it was funny because this was actually, I had a whole, it's funny how design goes sometimes. I had a whole different concept, and I had kind of, said, okay, this is sort of what I'm thinking, and I can't even remember what that concept was. I just know it wasn't this. And back at that time, I didn't have my own studio to work in. I was literally working, I said this was not good for my diet, but I was literally working at the end of the kitchen counter on that island, and that's where my laptop was and everything. And I, fortunately, I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah. But Bill left for work, and I was working on it. I was like, this concept just isn't coming to me. And all of a sudden, I just kind of had this flash, like, what if? And it was funny because he came home that night. I was probably still wearing my pajamas or something. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I think it's done. What do you think? And he's like, that's not what you were working on. And I'm like, yeah, but it's so much better. Yeah. So, as stitchers, we like all our stuff. So, but so yeah, so that was it. And this is another one that still I believe the number is HD 10. Everything gets kind of numbered as it comes out, so you can see how long this pattern has been out, but it's still one of our best sellers.
Yeah, and it's called My Stitcher's Heart. No,
this is called Love My Stitching.
Love My Stitching.
Love My Stitching. Okay, and speaking of My Stitcher's Heart, I've got that. Do I have anything else? Okay. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm getting cues from over here. Okay, so this is My Stitcher's Heart. I'll show that a little bit closer. This was originally a club piece that came out. It was the very first club that I ever did with, at the time, it was with Elegant Stitch, Lois, who is now Lady Dot Creates. And she approached me one year at market, and she said, have you ever done a club? And I'm like, well, no, I never have. And she said, you just do whatever you want. And literally this project probably took us 2 years to do, because every time I kind of came up with an idea, she had something going on, or just vice versa. It was a whole story. I talk about it in one of I think it's my very first FlossTube, the whole funny story behind how the club got to go. And then I did eventually release it, and you get all the finishing instructions. I just think it's needle and thread, may they never part. It's the key to unlock my stitcher's heart. And I wrote the saying. I like to write a lot of the sayings that I put in things. I figure that way then I get around any kind of copyright issue or trademark issue if I write it. And I just kind of enjoy wordsmithing a little bit. That's like kind of when I play with the words on the Chalk Talk charts and things like that. I find I'll just kind of start getting a little, like, needle and thread, may they never part, and I'll kind of walk around with that in my head for a while, and then the rest of it sort of falls into place. And then with this one, then that's pretty much how the design went. And I love tassels, and I love the whole odd shape, and kind of having it, just kind of some of the design sort of running off the edge. But this is a box that I painted, and then it's got some tools inside. This is a little pin cushion that looks like a tomato.
Is that cross stitched?
It is cross stitched, yep. And it's not assembled like the block party, but it's very easy to assemble. And then I gave you all the instructions for making the berry on top, and then the cap on the tomato. And so there's your pin cushion to finish in, just to set in there. And then here's a little scissor fob. Hold it up like that.
So cute.
And I just took some of the little motifs from that, and then my stitcher's heart, and then you can put your initials on it, and then you can see how long ago I stitched this. And there was a funny story behind this. I was really kind of, by the time we finally got the design and the concept and everything going to do the initial kits, I was kind of rushing to make the fob, and I really didn't like the way my finish came out. And as I was giving it a final press, I didn't realize my iron was too hot.
Oh.
And melted the palms on it, and it stuck to my iron. I think I cried, and and I thought, okay, you're going to stitch this again, and you're going to stitch it very quickly, and then you're going to finish it the right way, so this is actually the second attempt, and I guess it's kind of one of those things that was meant to happen because I'm much happier with this. And then this had a little key, a wax key, so just a sweet little bag. And this could be anything. You don't have to make the bag. The bag's very simple. Again, all the instructions. And this holds your wax key, the key to your stitcher's heart.
So cute.
Yeah. And again, all the institute just kind of goes in there. Very simple finish, but I just like to do a lot of fun heart pieces. So
I love that there's a lot of like little accent pieces. So if you don't have time to do the big piece, you can do the smaller one.
Exactly. Or you can pull pieces out from it. Do you want to start bringing those in? Oh, okay. Yeah, I like to give lots of options in my patterns, and I like to, I kind of like to just have a lot of options, but concepts, and especially I've seen a lot of people take, these types of patterns, not like say necessarily this one specifically, but they'll pull pieces from it and make. And make a lot of times when you go to retreats and things like that, though, I have a friend, she calls them her love gifts, because she'll go and she'll sit at a table with all her friends, and they'll make little presents for each other, and I just think that's really cool. That's what a lot of these type of charts provide is, and even pretty much all of mine you can do that with. And then the final piece I have pulled is it's called a urine chalk. So this is, I think, one of the questions that you kind of guys said, they might ask you, like, what's your favorite piece? And I always say my favorite piece is the one that I'm stitching on at the moment. But if I have a series, that for me was kind of like the piece the sort of where I kind of found my voice in designing, and that sort of like I think got people to go, oh yeah, the hands-on design lady, yeah, we know her. It was the urine chalk, the original urine chalk. So this came out in 2014. Again, it still continues to be a popular chart. To me, they're good. I don't want to say timeless. I guess I'd like to say that they're timeless designs. The original urine chalk series was stitched on 30 count gunmetal from Weeks Dye Works. At the time, there really weren't a lot of options in chalk fabric, and it was funny because one time I was up at Witchold Imports. I was up there teaching a class, and I got a little tour of their warehouse, and she had all this black fabric, and Amy Witchold, who's the owner, she looked at me and she goes, you did that. And I was like, really? I thought that was pretty cool, because a lot of people started, stitching, not being afraid to stitch on the dark linen. And then, of course, there became the call for it. So I think that was pretty darn cool. But so January, and the fun thing about this is I had said in the beginning, the boards, we made all the boards. The boards would be limited, but the designs, of course, would never be limited. But they fit nicely into like a 4x6 or a 5x7. They fit into a good standard frame. And there are so many options out there now. But this was the original concept of where I started. If you make one, and it's got the Velcro. This is the industrial strength Velcro on the back, and you could switch it out. And before market that year, we made about 1,300 of these boards. I turned my kitchen into a mini sweatshop. It literally, I always tell people, I'm gonna get that, sorry. It took a village to get me to market that year. I had friends, thanks. Mr. HOD was helping me. I think somewhere I have a picture of him having breakfast, and there's like stacks of these boards sitting next to him on the kitchen counter. And then you set up a large grid in the end of the dining room, because these came in plain, and then they had to be painted twice, and then sanded, and then stained, and then you set up a wire grid at one end of the dining room, and and so we could have them there and they could dry. And then of course they had to be drilled and the ribbons put through them, and it was just kind of crazy. And I had friends come over every night. I put a big pot of soup on and said, come on over. Sorry, I keep dropping them.
I believe the phrase never again was uttered more than once.
Yeah, I don't know, can you hear him?
Yeah.
You probably can. Yeah.
I can hear him.
Yeah. They weren't supposed to hear that. No, there have been times when he'll look at me and I'm like, no, we're not going to have the board experience. That's what we called it. But anyway, so there was, that's January. And I have seen quite a few people doing these on just white or antique white or any colors. And then wherever it's stitched with white, just maybe choose a gray or something like that. And I think that would work. And then we have February, You Hold My Heart.
These are so cute.
And this is the funny one. I told a story about this one time. This is actually March. May luck be yours. But I had the worst communication with the shop one time because I sent her, she said I would like May. You know, I need like 3 or 4 copies of May.
Oh.
And I sent her May. And she messaged me back and she said, no, you sent the wrong ones. This is, you know, May. I don't know, it was just kind of funny. And I was like, oh, we figured out this is the one that you wanted.
Yeah.
So that's actually March. And here's May. And then somewhere, I think April's in there somewhere. Oh, this is April.
And this one doesn't have a setting for a full to put them all together, does it?
No,
Okay.
no, but you certainly could. They're pretty much all about the same size. I would say 1 or 2 of the months might kind of peek out like one stitch beyond. Sometimes it just kind of happened that way with the design. We have the others. Thank you. And this was a fun one because I kind of went to. I was showing some friends when I did the first one. I really wasn't sure that I wanted to do this series. I had the whole concept. I really liked chalk art as a form of art. I decorate with it a lot. And my one thing in design, a lot of times I say to myself is, you know, how can I do that in cross stitch? And finally, I was talking to some friends and they're like, you should just go for it, because I had most of the designs done. And then I think we had a conversation late one night and Bill looked at me and he said, what are you worried about with this series? And I said, well, I'm asking teachers to do 2 things that they don't like to do, and stitch on dark and stitch with white. And I'm asking them to do both. And so he said, well, what would be the worst thing that could happen if you put this out? And I'm like, well, nobody'd like it. And he's like, so then you do something else. I was like, I think I went to bed that night going, okay, we're going to do it. And I'm so happy that I did. I just, you know, because obviously everybody knows I sort of kept that up a little bit. But this is the June, the Catch a Wave. And again, these are all interchangeable. Even if you don't want to do the entire series, this is one of my favorite ones, the Red, White, and Barbecue. So and this is one, I see the popular change for this one is they stitch the red in red and then white, and then they'll do the blue, the barbecue in a blue. So it's a little more patriotic, which is kind of fun. And then August.
It's a look so
Sleep
cute.
Under the Stars, the camper. Okay, and I had it pointed out to me. I was like, okay. Apparently you can tell I'm not a camper because somebody said your camper is faced in the wrong direction. I was like, what?
It is?
I'm like, okay. Well, apparently, I guess, I don't know.
I don't know anything about campers.
I don't either. So I'm like, well, it would be pretty easy just to reverse it. So, and then they're very simple designs, but yet they do. I think they do pack a lot of punch. So Summer Don't Go is my favorite. That's September. It's a favorite because I just, you know, usually by that time, especially when I was a little kid and when my kids were little, I just was always like, oh, I'm not ready for. I'm not ready for back to school and all the activities to begin again. And I just love the whole Fireflies. So we definitely did that as kids and with my kids, catching the fireflies in the jar. And then I really, believe it or not, was very unsure of what to do with the October design. I actually okay, this sounds funny. I have sometimes very specific memories about where I was when I kind of came up with different concepts and designs. I was sitting in the St. Louis airport. I had been down at Just Another Button Company for a week working with them on some designs. And my flight got delayed, and so I was like, well, what am I going to do? And I had stitching with me, but I thought, okay, I have to figure out this October design. And I heard a little kid saying, I want some candy. And I'm like, okay, that's all, I could do something with that. Yeah. So, let them eat candy. So, but I don't know. I remember, I probably can't remember what I had for dinner yesterday, but I can remember something like that from how many years ago. And then, so here we have November. Thankful and grateful. And then Peace on Earth. This is the final one. And again, something like this. Now these do come all on individual cards, which I think makes them very portable. And this could be a pretty ornament. I have seen stitchers do this where they'll fill in the green for the leaves, and they'll change up the colors a little bit and give it a little more detail. I purposely left them. When I was working on the original series, I did study a lot of chalk art, and what appealed to me was a lot of times the not having a lot of the other color. But each one has two colors, one being the chalk, the General Art Sampler Threads chalk. And as I said, this whole series was done on the 30 count gunmetal. I would suggest, I don't think I'm insulting anybody if I say I'm not a huge fan of the 30 count. It's a very loosey-goosey fabric, but at the time it was pretty much what was out. It was either this or 36 count, and I wasn't doing this on 36 count. So now I'd say I would definitely suggest doing like a 28 or a 32. There's just a lot of different options on there. For all of my chalk talk charts, I have used I do like the gunmetal color, but I have used the slate fabrics by Stephanie for those. Okay. And I usually pretty much tell people in videos and even on my charts, by now, there's so many options out there now for whether it's black, whether it's kind of more of a bluer gray, a browner gray. Use what you like, because all the designs are going to look good on them. And really, that's kind of what one of my suggestions in general is. Just I actually really like seeing that stitchers are starting to, if the designer has this on a chart, they're using what they want to use. And because ultimately you have to enjoy the stitch and enjoy the process. And so.
Yeah, and anyway. I always feel like if they make it match their house, they're going to be more likely to finish it, more likely to display it, more likely to do it. And so I always think don't do it exactly like me, do it whatever matches your color palette.
Right. Well, like I said earlier, it's not going to hang in my house.
Yeah, that's true.
And but yeah, pretty much everything I do. Oh, here, I was going to show this too. I had this handy. I had this out at market.
Yes.
And on my website, sorry, back up, this is for season 2. On the website, you'll see the border, and you'll see this without the individual months in it. But I had this on display at market so the shop owners could come in and see what it would kind of look like. And this is what I was talking about, how I spaced it so that these months, the little tag that I created were all, justified, right justified or left justified. And then these were centered, and then these were right justified. So it definitely has a more cohesive look to it.
And that's how I'm going to stitch mine, and just I'm going to stitch mine, and I'm just going to hold all the info on when we're going to release it. We're just waiting on an answer on when we can get all the thread to make the pack.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, because that was going to be what I was going to ask. When were you guys going to start it?
Yeah. So, as soon as we can get the thread, we're going to start it. But I am going to go ahead and stitch the border. The border's really simple, and I like that it's just very simple, and it's nothing fancy, so I could probably do it in a couple hours. Yeah,
definitely. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, it's really just a series of. I kind of wanted to make it look like quilted lines a little bit. Here, sorry, go this way. And then really, I just kind of played with the numbers, played with the little corner posts, just to make it work, so that each one would. Each of the little months would fill in there. As I said, they're all 49 by 49. You might run across one that's kind of just ekes out like a stitch or so, but still, because maybe like the snowman scarf goes like slightly beyond, breaks the edge, but still go ahead and center it in there and it'll be fine. So, but I'm excited for you guys to start this once and see what it looks like.
And so for the customers, to find that border, what you do is you go to Kathy's website, go to Celebrations 2, and then click into that product, and then there's like a little hyperlink, and it'll take you straight to that border, and you can just print it. It's 4 pages. So that's where you find that.
We made it kind of big so that it was easy to follow, and pretty much really, I mean, if you get one block down, you can just kind of repeat that for the entire, and I'm not saying you don't you have to stitch it 3 across and 4 down. You stitch it however you want. I was kind of making a joke that you had to stitch it this way.
Yeah.
So
I think it would be cool to do like the border and then do all those top headers, all at one time, because it would be really efficient.
Right.
And I'm going to be doing this on 25 count. I can tell my customers that. They're asking if I'm doing it on 14 count. I'm not. I'm doing it on 25 count. So.
Okay, so, and over 2 then?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait to. What color are you going to use?
Kind of a brownish gray.
Okay.
So.
Oh, that'll look really nice. Yeah, I think I saw somebody do it using kind of a brownish gray in the group. So, and again, I've seen there's somebody actually stitching the original year of Celebrations. They just got done. This one. They're doing it on gingham, which is kind of cute. Kind of gives it a more country look, but it's really sweet. She's been posting a lot of her months lately, so that's kind of fun to see. I like those gingham fabrics. But let's see, what else?
You have a sneak peek?
I don't know.
I think you have a sneak peek.
Oh yes. Okay. Yeah, I do. I was teasing that I had a sneak peek, and I said if we have time, and somebody said, well, just show it at the beginning and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But so we just had the 3 releases. I won't be releasing anything in June, mostly because we have a really busy month between doing some traveling for our kids and I'm gone teaching. But in about mid-July, I'll have 3 new releases, and one I can kind of share with you now. I did sort of sneak peek it a little bit on in a reel, but this is
it's
called
cute.
Clover and Pie. And it's it's kind of hard to tell in this lighting. It's a pale green fabric. This is actually Friendship Green, fabrics by Stephanie. The colors are Classic Colorworks. And of course, as always, I did a DMC substitution, but just a lot of fun. And, that finish that I like to do where this is laced and then put it in. You'll recognize the frame. I just really like this frame a lot. And I'm sad. I feel like I keep asking the gal at the store, like, if you guys start thinking about discontinuing these, will you please let me know? Because I want to order like 50 of them or something. And then let's see. So this is laced on a padded. I cut a piece of mat board and I pad it with batting, and then I lace that, and then it's mounted on the fabric. And you said you recognize the fabric.
It's Lori's Farm Girl Vintage fabric.
Yes. Yeah. And I had some in my stash, and it wasn't the fabric I initially thought that I would use. Sorry, which way do I got to go here? But I was kind of playing around with some different fabrics, and I looked at that and I went, oh no, that's perfect. Sometimes people always say, like, how do you pick which fabrics? And I'm like, I just pick fat quarters and stuff that like kind of speak to me, and I just know eventually I'll use it, and I like a lot of, smaller prints and things like that. So it just went really well with this. And then I did a twisted cord, 2 colors of DMC that coordinated with the B-skeps. And then I just kind of did a couple little bows at the top. I just kept it real simple. And then I do, I said before, I really like to embellish, just have, layers of media and textures in my finishes, and so that's actually a little bee pin. And I did talk to the Cecile at Just Another Button Company. They're going to do a bee solo
Okay, good.
pin mini for me, and they'll have, you can buy it in packs of 3, or you'll just be able to buy a single pack if you just want to stick it up there. I just think it's just a fun way to embellish, and it's funny. Somebody said, because I was model stitching it, and they're Clover and Hive, Clover and Hive. Like I said, I like to think of word combinations that are just just maybe slightly different. And like, how did you come up with Clover and Hive? And believe it or not, because people always say, well, where do you get your ideas? And I hate to always sound like I get them from everywhere, but you get them from everywhere. And I was driving last November to Tulsa to teach one of my classes, and I was there for 4 days to teach 2 classes. And I was driving down the highway. I don't even know if I was still in Missouri or if I was in Oklahoma at that point. But I was following a truck. It was a truck for a construction company.
Okay.
And their name was Clover and Hive. And they had the coolest logo, like a bee jar logo. And I was like, Clover and Hive, something stuck with me with those words. And I was driving, so of course I couldn't like do anything. Like I have to write that down so I can remember it. And so I stopped about 10 minutes because I kept saying this up, Clover and Hive, Clover and Hive, Clover and Hive. I probably looked like a crazy person driving, but so I stopped at a gas station, and before I started putting gas in the car, I wrote it down. But so that's kind of where that idea came from. And then at the top, it's been kind of hard to read a little bit. I think it's a buzz and bloom up in the little up in the little tag at the top. So just in real sweet colors, and it was a very fun stitch. This was my vacation stitch last April. So, but that'll come out in July.
Okay, awesome. So we're going to move into the Q&A portion, and so I'm going to just start with like some questions that have come in today, some that have come in before. But I guess the question that I wanted to know the most was, I do notice in all of your patterns you always have a DMC conversion, but sometimes you'll have like color and cotton, sometimes you have classic colorworks, sometimes you have Journal Arts. How do you pick what thread company you're going to use on a pattern?
That's a hard one. Well, I like certain thread companies for, I definitely have go-to shades. I love the blues of Weeks Dye Works, but I love the greens and the lavenders of Classic Colorworks. And then Color Cotton is kind of a newer company, so they do thread packs for me. For like, I kind of committed on the banner series, like the red she said, and I went around here somewhere. I said I would like to use her colors on all of those, but that's why she's doing the thread pack in case a shop doesn't carry all that. And I like to give newer companies that are really trying to get kind of into the industry, I like to give them a shot. And so I have a little different relationship with her in that we talk about a lot of the colors, and then she'll send me a palette and I kind of pick from that. And I really like, what I like about her threads is they are 8-yard skeins, which is nice because pretty much everything else is 5-yard. And so sometimes you just need that little bit of extra. That way you don't have to buy a whole second skein. But it's funny because there are certain tones that I prefer in each of the hand dyes, and of course I use chalk, forever in the hand dyed. And I do give DMC subs. I always laugh because people say, "Oh, you didn't do a DMC substitution for the Year in Chalk." This is the only series that I never did substitutions for, but mostly because there was just 2 colors, and one of them is white.
Yeah.
So I just, I kind of felt like I didn't need to do that. But so I pretty much I think about the piece, and then like kind of the series, like Secret Santa series. I did Classic Colorworks. I loved like kind of her sassy, Christmas colors, like the turquoise, the bright red, the bright green, that kind of thing. So that's probably about as much of an answer as I've got for you.
And then like in terms of fabric, like what are like maybe list 5 of your favorite fabrics to work on, like the colors that you like?
I like, well, obviously, besides the obvious of a chalky fabric, I do definitely like sometimes, in recent years, I've done a lot more just on your good old 32 count antique white. I just feel like sometimes you as much as we have beautiful colors of linen out there, sometimes you just can't beat a good old antique white. I love a pale green anymore. I did that with a couple, like the friendship green coming up. It's just a nice blendy color. This would be pretty on many, many colors, but just kind of a good pale green. But I do like the flax and a platinum. Those are just really good colors that blend. They can be bright, they can be pale, they can be country, they can be prim, they can be a lot of shades.
If you had to pick like 5 threads and 2 fabrics to stitch on, like for the next year, what would you pick?
Okay, 2 fabrics. I would definitely probably say flax, 32 count flax. And I gotta go with 32 count slate. I just gotta do a good chalk fabric in there. And then threads. Weeks Dye Works, I love. There's a new blue, and oh my gosh, now I'm not going to be able to. There's Glacial Melt is one of their new blues, and that's a good blue. And then they have a couple other turquoises. Then Grasshopper, I pretty much love Grasshopper in both Weeks Dye Works and Classic Color Works, and they're so different colors. And I love a good yellow green. And then I'm trying to think what else.
Maybe chalk.
Yeah, definitely chalk.
Yeah, that's like in a lot of your patterns.
Help. I just, pretty much, I really like to try to vary up my color palettes a lot. But like Boysenberry was a good kind of purpley color. I'm not really a huge purple person, but I was like, that was actually one of the colors I used in the Scary Apothecary series, the Halloween series. I tried to do vintagey colors. Pumpkin. I do a lot of oranges, and I like both. Clockwork is my favorite orange in Weeks Dye Works. Pumpkin Harvest is for a lighter orange in Classic Color Works. Have I hit 5 yet?
Yeah, I think you have. Can you tell us about like the retreats you offer? If a customer wanted to sign up for a retreat, how would they hear about it? And then maybe like a funny story of something that has happened at a retreat in the past.
Retreats that I go to, a lot of times, people say, "Oh, I want to sign up for one of your retreats," but typically they actually need to go to the shop or the group that's putting it on. I always say, I just show up. I'm just the entertainment. So I do keep a list on my website of what I know and I can say, because a few shops like to wait and make a big announcement, but they know that I'm going to be somewhere. So I have a list on my website, and that's pretty much it. So usually I do teach finishing classes, and so a lot of times you'll have pre-stitching with a piece. I just did, can you grab the Let's Dish?
This one?
Yeah. So a lot of times I'll give you just an example. This is a brand new class that I did where they get this cute little ruler box, and we line the bottom of it. And I teach a lot of different finishing techniques, and I always tell people, I'm not teaching you so that you're going to go home and finish everything like this, but what I want you to do is get your hands on doing some different techniques so that when you're doing it at home, it's not so scary. Because it's amazing to me how stitchers really, they're afraid to cut into their linen. And sometimes you just have to do that. And this was a cute little pincushion that went in it. It was the same type of finish as that tomato finish, as this type of finish. And this just gets a good look at just some hand stitching and just kind of seeing how things go together and fun colors. And it's funny, I just said I wasn't much of a purple person, but I really let my inner purple come out with this one. This is a very different color.
I also think it's fun, like you never know, like you think, okay, I'm going to hate that. And then you do it and then you actually love it. So like when you try it, you never know what you're going to actually really like. So I always say like trying stuff, just try it. If you like it, great, keep doing it. If you don't like it, just don't do it again.
Absolutely. And this was a new finish for me. I've been kind of working on this one for a while. It's a little needle book, and it's on perforated paper. So this is a brand new class, and it's got on the back, my soul is fed with needle and thread. And I know people say, oh, can we get that? Yes, eventually they do. I do release most all of my class pieces, but class pieces are a little more work at times because I have to write finishing instructions, and a lot of times because I'm coming up with a new finish, I have a concept, but I'm not exactly sure it'll work. So I have to kind of work through a couple renditions of it before I get a final piece that I like. So and this was just cute. You just open it, and it's got, you know, a little needle book inside like that. The fun part about all this,
sticks together.
yeah. So, and it even actually, I'm using a lot of magnets, and once you watch now, it'll fall. But it even kind of all sticks in there too. So I love, you know, having these cute little cohesive, okay, I'm not like the best housekeeper, but I'm a good organizer. And my motto is always, you know, a place for everything and everything in its place. So I just love having just kind of this like vessel to kind of create all these fun little things to put into it. And then you can put that in your stitching bag, and you can go to a retreat and just set it there. And then I'm big on putting initials on things, like you put your name on the bag. And so I think we've got initials on that. So if you're sitting next to somebody who did the same project, you don't mix up your projects. So.
And can you talk a little bit about like working with just another button company? I mean, I think I visited their facility like years ago with Kevin, and that's how I actually was introduced to you, was through a lot of the samples they had on the wall there. Can you talk a little bit about Cecile and Rachel and how y'all work together? Because they sell so many pins that go with all of your things, which tie to all your finishing.
Well, we actually, I met them years ago because I used to carry the buttons at the shop. And then when I started doing designing, gosh, I think there was a time when we put a lot of buttons in charts. And so, and again, knowing now that I like to have all these different mixed media and embellishment in my finishes, it was just a natural thing for me to go to use their buttons. So a lot of times, you know, I think I was probably one of the designers that was using their buttons the most in my finishes. And then, of course, I got asking, I didn't send them the "you don't know me" email, but I think I said, could you custom make something for me? And you know, and it just kind of developed into a relationship. And then I think it got cemented even further because Rachel was actually expecting her first, and they were going to Houston Quilt Market. And I had been to quilt markets I had not been to Houston yet, but I had been to a couple others on the buying side with some friends who were quilt shop owners. And they said, you know our product, would you come work in the booth? Because Rachel couldn't do a lot of the heavy lifting and things like that. And so I'd love to. So I flew down and I got to work Houston Quilt Market twice now with them. And I just kind of help, booth set up and kind of work behind the scenes. And of course, when you spend that much time with somebody, you really get to know them. And I just think we became really good friends, and we think a lot along similar lines with our design. And I just love Cecile's creative mind. It's just, and we then started a little kind of group of designs called Squareology. It kind of was a new concept, and it got to a point where we were getting together to do all these new little designs, and it was easier for me to travel there than for them to travel to Sioux City. Plus, plus you're right there at the button factory, so it's all right there. That room is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
It's surrounded by all the buttons, and so I would go down for like say a long week or something like that, and we would just kind of work on designs for a week, and it just the friendship grew. And so then a lot of times I would start showing them things that I was working on, and it's just things just always need a button. And we don't really do Squareology anymore. We kind of said that sort of ran its course, and but they remain very good friends, and I work with them a lot. And a lot of times with this one, I'll send Cecile images or I'll send her like kind of concepts of what I'm doing. And we kind of tend to feed off each other. And she saw the eagle and she's like, oh, that eagle. And I'm like, well, I put an eagle in for Bill because we have eagles that nest behind us and he loves watching the eagles. So I put in an eagle for him. And so that's when she came up with, I said, you don't have to, because, okay, like a lot of us designers, we're always doing things at the last minute. And I'll tell her, I'm planning on this, and then I'll finally like, okay, here's the sketch or whatever, and then she'll pick up on that. She picked it right away up on that eagle, and I know it's kind of blurry, but she did the eagle was a brand new pin, and it's just amazing. And she has such a creative mind, we just, even though we don't design together anymore, and that was kind of the neat concept with the Squirology is we all did the designing. And I didn't design any pins or buttons, but I got to be in on the process of like, what if we did this and what if we did that? And then I also really liked their Hill Creek when they bought the Hill Creek buttons. I used a lot of those too. So anyway, so we still work together a lot. Just and we're just good friends too.
Yeah. We have a lot of questions from beginners, like what beginner pattern series of yours would be best, and do you have like 3 tips you could give like someone who's starting out in cross stitch?
Okay, you want to hear me the Hello March? I think pretty much a lot of my patterns would be good for beginners, but this one,
and I made those years ago.
Did you?
Yeah, they're not finished yet. They're all stitched, but they're not finished.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, the Hello There is the name of the book. And this was a series that I did. I actually had all the months designed, and I purposely left in each one a place for the buttons. And I went down there, Rachel and I, all the counters in the button room, and we laid all the designs out, and I took a couple hours and we literally played with buttons, and each one has some of their hand-dyed buttons, and then it's got some of I call them character buttons, they're handmade buttons, and then they were attached. And this too has it's a little bit bigger, but okay. I haven't taken this one off as much as I have the other one, and I lost one of the pieces of Velcro. Okay, hold on. But this board was made by Cabaret Mary Woods. Unfortunately, I don't think they make the boards anymore, but you could certainly finish them in many ways. I've seen people make them as pillows. I've seen people make them just do regular frames. This one does lend itself a little bit more to a square shape, but some of the months are a little bit smaller, so you could even make it like a small pillow or something like that. But each month only has 3 colors. It's all DMC. They're all very simple stitches, and I think it's a great place. I think a lot of my charts would be great for beginners. This one is and plus all 12 months come in the same booklet. In the same book.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have it in stock, but I'll make sure we order it. But yeah, it was a club years ago, like
that's right.
8 years ago. It was like a club, and you got Cecile put together the thread, the fabric, the buttons, and so
the button pack.
Yeah. It was like
and
all
you can
in
still
one.
and you can still get the button pack. I think, did you guys do it with DMC or did you do chlorophyll?
Yeah, and she bought the DMC cones, and they cut it and everything. Yeah.
That's right. I do remember that now. Okay. So I think that one would be a good one for beginners, and then it's something that you can definitely use in decorating your home, and or it would make a great gift, or if you wanted to do somebody like maybe a child's birthday month or whatever. And finishing, mine are laced, and it has the wool felt on the back. It's the same finish that I used for the Year of Chalk series, so it's a very simple finish, or you could frame it very easily. And as far as advice for your beginners, number one, if you want to start on Ada, start on Ada. I guess my advice for stitchers is, because I was kind of thinking about this a little bit, and it might be different than what some people would say, and I would say, number one, stitch a project that you love, because you're going to be putting time in on it, and hopefully you either want to give it as a gift or have it be something that you decorate your home. And so, there's a lot out there. So kind of check around and like check, see your style and something that, you would love to have in your home. So definitely, I know a lot of times, we can have FOMO and, oh, I want that too. And I want this too, but I've got this going, but definitely go to the project that, something that speaks to you. And then the other thing would be is enjoy the process. Okay. You're going to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. I still make mistakes. I did some ripping out last night on a model that I was stitching, and because I looked at it and went, "Oh, I crossed everything the wrong way." Okay, it's going to happen. So enjoy the process. Years ago, there was kind of a movement in the quilting industry, the slow stitching movement. Do you remember them talking about that? And that's kind of morphed over into the cross stitch world too. Just it's meant to be something that gives you joy, gives you peace. So take your time. I know I hear a lot of people say, "I'm such a slow stitcher." Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. That's actually one of the things I say in my class. I don't bring door prizes for people who get done first. So, not to say that that's bad, but it's just, I know a lot of people feel badly when they don't get things done, and you shouldn't. You just enjoy the process.
And some people are asking, like, do you do all the stitching? Do you have model stitchers? Do you stitch in a hoop or stitch in hand? How many hours a day do you stitch? Can you talk a little bit about your personal stitching?
Yeah. I do have model stitchers. I would like to say that I stitch everything, but there's, again, still 24 hours in a day. I do a lot of the models. Like of the recent releases, I did do the Home of the Brave, and I did do the Life is Just models. And but I have several people that stitch for me. And I know a lot of people say, how do you get to be a model stitcher, or can I stitch for you? I work very, very closely with my model stitchers, and they know that, like, they'll ask me questions at times. Did you mean this little here? Did you mean that? Did you really want, and I welcome that, because that's kind of how we proof a chart. And usually, unfortunately, they don't, I try to get things as quickly as I can to them, to give them a large amount of time, but a lot of times I'm asking them to stitch like as fast as the wind, because I need something for a market or a deadline or something like that. And model stitchers. But I do stitch a lot of the models, and all the class pieces, I do stitch all of those, mostly because I am looking at the construction of it and I want to know that it's going to work right, that type of thing. So, but a lot of the models I do stitch. Hours in a day, I typically, most mornings, kind of depending on like how the day is going, I get up early. I usually am up at 6, feed the zoo, so to speak, and then I kind of sit and stitch, and sometimes I listen to music, or sometimes I'm watching a series on Netflix. It just kind of depends, but it's just like when it's quiet, I have my light. And it's just kind of a nice way to start the day. I do try at night, but a lot of times I'm just really tired and I don't get a ton of stitching in. So, I mean, I probably average at least a couple hours a day. If I'm on a deadline, I don't always get to stitch in the middle of the day, but if I'm on a deadline, yeah, I will.
Do you have any storage tips on, like, basically, how do you store your fabric? How do you store your thread? And then how do you store, like, your finishing stuff, like the stuff that's finished?
Right. Well, a lot of my, I guess, it's a little different for me, just because I do have a studio. I do have an area. So you see kind of behind me, I have a lot of cabinets. We were fortunate. It was always a dream of mine that we could build a home, and that was always something I wanted to do. So when we did build this house about 5 years ago, I did put in an area specifically for the studio. So we put in a lot of cabinetry and whatnot. As I said before, I'm a big person on, a place for everything and everything in its place. So I don't necessarily do well with like a lot of clutter around on my countertops and whatnot, especially if I'm working on a design. I'll have the immediate clutter for that particular piece, but beyond that, I really like to kind of have clean work surfaces. So I do kind of keep my threads organized. I have master sets of all my hand dyeds, so that I can refer to them, like if I want to pull colors. But then I have large bins where I keep rings of the different like color families, that type of thing. So when I have the threads that like I need to pull for actually stitching the model, we go to those, and I have those just in big, large, or kind of plastic totes. I would show that to you. Bill actually threatened to pull that and show everybody. It's kind of a mess at the moment, so he's not going to do that. But and then my finished projects, I tend to, because my pieces travel a lot. We have kind of padded envelopes for everything that they travel in, and then everything kind of gets a label, and so we do take care to pad them well when they travel. I've, you know, like I said, I've had a few things kind of break and get damaged over the years, but and as far as like my finishing supplies, it's hard to see with the camera angle on top of that row of cabinets up there. If you opened each one of those, you'll find I have a lot of like baskets and bins, and this is full of ribbons, and this is full of baker's twine. I have an obscene amount of baker's twine. And then on top of the cabinets actually are some totes, some pretty like linen covered totes, so it doesn't get dust in them. That's a big thing here where we are. You know, it gets kind of dusty, as I said before, like where we live. So I make sure everything has a lid, so it's protected, or it's stored in plastic. And a lot of my class supplies are up there. So I'll have, if I'm traveling to teach, I'll pull those bins down, and I carry a lot of finishing supplies with me, all the tapes and the cutters and the scissors and things like that. So a lot of baskets, a lot of bins, and that's why when I did the triple play pillow, the basket series, it was kind of funny that I ended up with a tray and not a basket, because if you knew how many baskets I have. But yeah, I just try and keep everything fairly well organized. One of my newest fun things when it comes to, I don't thread up my projects, since a lot of times I'm experimenting with color. I will take those little like thread, like the book rings, like I don't know, they call them thread drops,
thread
or
keeps, or
floss
drops.
Something like that. Yes, I do use those a lot when I'm working on a certain project. So.
What is your favorite needle to stitch with?
I pretty much always use a size 26 boning.
Okay. Size 26 sewing?
Yeah. No, Bowen.
Bowen.
Needle.
Okay, size 26 Bowen. Okay.
Yeah. And even when I do, even on 32 count, because I know, okay, so everybody says, well, how do you know what size needle? And my rule, I know there's charts out there that say, you know, if you're stitching on this, do that, da, 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 da. My thing is, if you can thread it, and when you go through the linen, if it doesn't enlarge the hole, go for it. Just use it. I have kind of big hands, so I don't particularly care for the petites, but I do have them on hand for, you know, if I'm in a little tight area, that type of thing. I do typically work with a Q-snap.
Okay.
And that's, I would say probably about 80% of the time I'm with a Q-snap. I do have some wooden hoops that I like to use. And on certain linens, like the stiffer linens, I actually do like to do those in hand. But I really try to work to get my stitches nice and even, and I don't find I can do that as well when I work in hand. So I would kind of rather, and probably I'd say my go-to size, I kind of combine, I don't know, I have a sea of Q-snaps. and I think 8x8 and like 8x11, probably like the size I like to work in most often.
Sharon is asking if you're going to design another exclusive pattern for the Special Olympics, because she loved the pumpkin and she just wanted to know if you were going to do another one.
Yes. So yes, it won't necessarily. So was it last fall? Lois of Lady Dot and I teamed up to do the philanthropic pumpkin. We both do like to do a lot of philanthropic work, and the idea came, and it just, you know, it all came together. We had no idea that it would be as crazy as it was, that it would sell out so quickly. But I'm very proud to say that we raised, I think not quite $23,000.
Wow.
And off that one kit. And initially, we were going to split it between two charities, one being her philanthropy and one being mine. And she said, look, why don't we just do the one philanthropy first? and then the next time we'll do the other philanthropy. So she's actually just got done doing a lot of philanthropy work for World Central Kitchen. So it probably will not be this year. It'll be next year, and we're going to do another one. And we learned a lot from the first go round. I know I get a lot of questions, and when somebody posts a pumpkin, I have a love-hate relationship with that pumpkin because I love seeing it and I love the good work that it did. But initially we did say I would not be releasing the chart. It would be a very special piece. And that is my word, and I don't want to go back on my word. But we did learn that we learned a lot of things from that first go round that we're definitely taking into account for the second go round. So yes, keep an eye out. I will definitely be doing something else, and because to me it's a great way to it was amazing because even people that weren't able to purchase a kit because they sold out so quickly actually sent donations, and it was a wonderful thing.
So, can you tell everyone how, a little bit about your finishing tutorials, where they can find that so that they know how to find that? Because we're getting a lot of questions about the finishing.
Okay, so I have a couple different areas where you can get the finishing tutorials. I have a section on my website that says tutorials, and there's a couple pages in there. And sometimes it's the full-on tutorial. Sometimes for my ornament series, if I do a different shape, there are templates in there, and I refer you to another tutorial that shows how to finish a shaped ornament, like a shaped flat finish. So those are static tutorials. I also have tutorials available on my FlossTube channel, the video tutorials, and then I do have some tutorials like for the banner series, for this series, as well as the pillows. Let's see, this series. They're I want to say private tutorials. Basically, you have to have the chart, and the link is in there. And as I said, eventually those will become out on the website as well. So you can find them on my website, and you can also find them on my FlossTube channel. And we just recently updated. On the front page of my FlossTube channel, the hands-on. Either comes up as hands-on design or the hands-on designer. You'll see we grouped all the tutorials like as a playlist, so those are easier to find.
And then can you tell all of our customers how to find you on social media too?
Sure, yes. On Instagram, it's hands-on design, and then there's a period between, yes, there you go, hands.on.design. And then on Facebook, I have a hands-on design Facebook page, and we also have, let's see, we have 3 stitching groups. One is hands-on design stitchers, and then we have the HOD Chalk Talk Stitch Along, and then we also have the HOD Hero Celebrations Stitch Along, SAL. And those links actually, if you go to one of my FlossTube tutorials, or any of the FlossTube videos, in all the information kind of that goes below, there's links in there to all of them. And they're really fun, active groups. The admins I'm in the groups, and I try to get in every day and see everything. But the admins really kind of keep it fun and hop in. And really, it's down to the stitchers that are members of the groups. They are wonderful, and I love it because a lot of times somebody might ask a question, and I don't get to go into the group till like the evening or something, and invariably, like 5 or 6 stitchers have already answered the question.
Yes.
Which is pretty awesome.
So that's how you find Kathy. Thank you so much for joining me today. And then if you guys have any more questions, just pop them in the comments, and she can come back later and answer them, or we can answer them for her later. But I hope you try some of Kathy's hands-on designs, because I stitch a lot of them. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.